Hi, everyone. This is Hal Krosman with Screenwriting U, and today we're going to talk about how to write a cause movie. Now, my hope is that you have something in mind, something you have always wanted to write, or something you just wrote that you would like to turn into a true cause movie, something that makes a difference for the world that we live in at the present moment. So here's what we're going to do today. We're going to be starting by talking a little bit about what impact do profound movies have. Because a lot of people say it's just subjective, but I'm just going to give you some actual statistics that show that there's maybe something else going on besides just we like it. Uh, then we'll go to what makes a great cause movie or TV series, the key decisions that most writers miss. And there's reasons why, but we'll talk about that at that point. I'll give you the profound model, and we'll talk about the upcoming class, the profound screenplay, for those of you who really want to be an incredible writer who can write profound movies that change people's lives. So here we go. First, I think this is an important question. Uh, when we first started the development team for this class, I had some people in there who said, "Well, it's all it's all subjective. You can't really tell whether or not a movie's going to be profound or not, and those kinds of things." Uh, Let me just show you some things where we have statistics that will help. We have actual events that occurred because of these. First one is this one: Enter the Dragon. And whether you're a martial artist or not, if you were around during the period of time that this movie came out, what you know is before that point, if we go to before that point, there were almost no martial arts studios in the United States. There were some, pretty much every city had one or something like that. This movie came out and suddenly everything changed. There was a huge craze for the whole martial arts things. People who would never think about this in their lifetime were putting down money and getting black belts. My daughters have black belts that I'm going to tell you actually came from the my experience of the early days of this and how it transformed our culture. Uh, just a couple of things about it. When this movie came out, up until that point, very few people in the US knew who Bruce Lee was. From that moment on, he became the first Asian icon in this country, from a movie star perspective. It changed how Asians were seen in movies, but it also completely changed the whole martial arts thing and made it something that people looked at as not just a man only thing, not just something that is done in China and that kind of thing, but it started a whole martial arts craze. Now, let's take it a step further. Some people would look at this movie and go, it's not profound. I had watched this movie probably 8 times before I realized what it was about it that was truly profound. And that wasn't this guy, right? This guy, Arnold Schwarzenegger at that time wasn't as good an actor as he was later on. I don't know if he ever was great, but he was quite a presence. Uh, what made this movie profound was the Sarah Connor story. It was the story of a waitress who was having problems doing her job, couldn't get a date, and by the end of the movie, she was transformed into the only human being on the planet who had actually killed a Terminator. Uh, Incredible transformational journey. Next time you watch this movie, just watch that journey. And you'll suddenly see if you took that journey out, nobody sees this movie a second time. Really. I mean, it's an interesting action story, but people don't go back and watch it over and over and over without Sarah Connor's story. So it had an impact in and of itself. And by the way, let me say one other thing. Out of it, they did a TV series, and the TV series wasn't The Terminator. The TV series was the Sarah Connor Chronicles. My daughters watched it. They watched the entire 2 seasons of it. I thought it was really, really good. But again, that wouldn't have happened if it wouldn't have been for the level of profound story that was built into it. Then there's this movie, Rounders. When Rounders came out, people in this country had been playing poker. There was already a World Series of poker, but it wasn't well attended. I can't remember the actual numbers. I'd have to look at it, but it was like there were 300 people that actually went in for the main event the year before this thing. Uh, Within 5 years after this, there were 20 times as many people who paid $10,000 to play in the World Series of Poker. This movie, at one point I was in the poker world, and I went around and interviewed a whole bunch of champions, and half of them said this movie was what caused them to start playing and what inspired them in their career. And we're talking the people at the very top, the ones who won the World Series of Poker, the ones who won some of the biggest events we've ever seen came from this movie. It had a tremendous impact. One other I want to show you, The Matrix. Uh, of all the movies that I've ever talked with people about, when I say, how many times have you seen it? Because that's one of the questions I like to ask. Uh, The Matrix has more 20 plus than any movie I've ever seen. 20 people, a lot of people will say I've seen it at least 10 times, some 15, some 20 or more. They have seen that movie. Why? Uh, and it's not because a lot of people will say, oh, it's the cool graphics and they did some interesting martial arts. Yes, they did. They did all of that. That's not why they see it 20 times. They see it 20 times because they want to go on the journey of becoming the one, right? If they want to go on that same journey, because again, if you think about it, when you see a movie more than 3 times, you already know how it ends. You already know how the love story is going to go. You know about the fights. You know where things are going to happen. You're predicting things, all of that. But when it has a truly profound story in it, you're going back to go on that journey again and again and again. All of these movies were watched 10 times the normal views. Every single one of these, for the people who were fans, they have said they have seen them over and over and over and over and over again. Uh, but if you take out the profound part, in every one of these movies, nobody watches it a second time. Maybe they watch it a second time, but they don't watch it a third. It's like, that's what we go when you already know the surprises, when you already know the love story, when you already know all of that. The reason you're going back is because it had a profound impact on you. There was something there you wanted to experience again, right? And that's a big part of what makes a movie or a TV show successful. So let me give you one more. This TV series, The Queen's Gambit. And if we were in a live audience, I'd ask how many people have seen it. But The Queen's Gambit, I got a phone call from a friend of mine, and he said, you've absolutely got to see this show. And I was like, yeah, I play chess, but I'm not that interested. And he's like, no, you got to see this show. And then somebody else texted me and said, hey, you need to see this, and told me where it was. Uh, at the time, it was 1 week. It had been out for 1 week. It was #1 for Netflix in 63 countries at that point. It was seen by 62 million households in that first week. Crazy numbers for something that I hadn't seen any promotions on. I didn't even know it was happening. Uh, so what kind of impact did it have? And I want to go to the real world impact so you can see this, because again, this is the kind of thing that happens when you have a profound movie. Chess set sales increased by 250% on eBay. Just, it's like, wow, they've been going along like this for the entire time eBay existed, and suddenly they just jumped straight up because of the show. New players to chess.com went up fivefold. And by the way, chess.com, within 2 weeks after the show came out, had a bot that you could play chess against that was her. And it's like, that's crazy. That's just wild. The novel that had been written like 25 years before and got very little acclaim at that time ended up becoming a New York Times bestseller 25 years later. Uh, and then Financial News, I saw this, I was watching TV. Financial News recommended both the show and Netflix stock because of it. And I thought that was incredibly interesting. I've watched Financial News a lot at different times when I was looking at different stocks and that kind of thing. I've never seen them say, hey, go buy this stock because of this TV show. That's just crazy. But that's what happens when you have something that has this much impact and this kind of impact. So why I'm telling you that again is because this isn't all just subjective. When you have a truly profound show, it has multiple forms of impact, including deep personal impact. So just be thinking about that. So what causes a great cause movie? What makes a great cause movie? First, it's not an infomercial. Infomercials have a tendency to be selling you all the way through, selling, 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 selling. It's not a documentary. And some documentaries, by the way, can be profound. But there's a lot of documentaries. If you watch documentaries, there's a lot of them that you watch and maybe you retain some facts, but you don't go back and watch them a second time. And if you do, maybe they are profound. But that's not what we're looking for. We're not looking to just tell a true story. And let's say this, just so it's clear. If you do have a true story, then part of your job, if you choose to take this on, is to write it as a profound story that has a deeper impact on people. I've watched documentaries before. I've read a book on a person's life and then watched the documentary and went, okay, they picked what they thought were the biggest events, but they didn't really get to the heart of why that person did what they did, or what changed them, or what caused them to become the extraordinary human being they became. So it's not that. Audience change doesn't come from characters preaching at them or providing information to them. It comes from creating a profound journey that causes us to rethink and shift our perspective. Now, think about the movies that have done that for you. The ones where you truly came out of it and things had changed for you. You saw life in a new way, or you were more empowered, or maybe it motivated you to go in a certain direction in your life. Be thinking about those because that's what's possible for what you do. So here's some of the key decisions. First one is, what is the change for the audience? If you don't know that, you might end up missing the boat at the end. You might end up actually creating something that's very entertaining, but doesn't cause a change for the audience. Who's the change agent and who gets changed? And then what's the vehicle you're going to use to present that change through? Now, let me just walk you through it this way. This is our model, and I'm going to give you the whole model. Uh, you know, just we won't be talking about the how-tos today because it would just take a long time. But I want to give you the model so you know what it is. Uh, we fashioned it after an envelope because originally we were thinking the whole thing was about the message. That was what we thought in the beginning. By the time we had analyzed about 30 different profound movies, we saw it as something very different. So here's what we think the essence is. This is where you need to start. Number one, what's the change? What's the change you're trying to make with this audience? Now, again, I know that there will be people out there that will tell you not to think about the audience, not to think about how the movie's marketed, not to think about what people are going to think about it, all that kind of thing. This isn't about that. If you want to create a profound movie and you really want to be intentional about it, start with that. What's the change? What change are you trying to make happen here? And like for instance, let's use the Matrix to talk about this. What's the change? People becoming the one in their life. People, going on this profound journey and truly becoming something extraordinary. That's what we're going for here. If you were writing the Matrix, you're creating a change. The siblings who wrote it, the Wachowski siblings, said this movie was all about transformation and they were trying to create a particular change and they had a change in mind called we become the one in our lives. So with that, then we go up here. You need an opening that connects with your audience and that has them connect to the lead character's journey. Because you're going to, once you connect them, once you have them engaged, then you're going to take them on this journey all the way over here to the profound ending, right? And the ending, there needs to be something there that locks that impact in, that has us go, oh my God, I can do this. And because if you have that, if it's really strong, you're in business. People are they're going to walk out of that theater and go, oh my God, you know what? Something has just changed for me. Now, I'll tell you on this. I remember seeing a movie that seemed fairly profound. It did almost everything that this model is about. And we got to the ending and it had this weak ending that was the equivalent of somebody saying, oh, the whole thing was a dream. First, please don't ever do that because it's an automatic. Your audience walks out feeling screwed. So that's not a cool twist at the end. That's really bad. You need a profound ending. You need the kind of ending that has them come out even more inspired, has them come out going, I can do this, has them believing in themselves at a level they never did before. And it's because of how you bring it to a close. So from there's this other part that goes in between. You've got an opening that connects, you've got a profound ending. Now, what we need is this transformational journey that we live every moment of, right? If we're watching The Matrix, we are watching him go through this change. And notice this in The Matrix, the change isn't easy. Because if it was easy, first, we wouldn't internalize it. We wouldn't believe it. People would be walking out going, no, that's not possible. But we believe the change that happened to him. And the reason why is because he had an incredible transformational journey. And I'll get to these other parts in just a moment. But he started in one place. He went through everything it took to finally get to this other place. There were times in here where he didn't believe in himself. There were times in here where something went wrong, where somebody else told him it wasn't him, all those kinds of things. All the things that happen to us as we're changing. So then from there, now we go down here to the left-hand side, we've got the transformable character. And sometimes this is just one character, like Neo. Sometimes it's a group, like Dead Poets Society. The boys were the transformable character, right? Sometimes it's an entire nation, like if you watch the movie Gandhi, where the nation of India changes. And it's like, yeah, there's a transformable character. There's someone who's going to go on this journey, and their whole purpose is to make the change. On the other side, there's what's called a change agent. This is the person who, if you look at this, the journey starts here, it ends here. The change agent has been through the journey in some way, and they're on this side. So they are causing or guiding or pointing out the direction for the transformational character. They are guiding them on the journey in some way. And in some way, they've been over here. Let me go back to Gandhi for a second. You might say, well, Gandhi didn't live in India at that point. He came from the UK. And it's like, yes, he became an attorney up there, went down to South Africa, had no idea what kind of discrimination was going on and the level it existed at it, saw it in South Africa, made some change, and then went to India. He had already been through causing change in South Africa. When he got to India, he knew his model. He already knew what it took to go through that journey, right? So from that point on, his job was to take them through that journey. So, and then we have the journey, which is you need a gradient of change. Now, let me give you kind of the difference. I've seen some scripts where the character will start over here and they will stay at the same level all the way across. And then all of a sudden at the very end, they suddenly become the hero who saves the day. And I've asked the writers why they wrote it that way. And they said, well, that's what really happened. This person was on an airplane. There was, attempted hijacking. They jumped out of their seat, knocked the person over, the hijacker over, and were the hero. And it's like, okay, sometimes you're right. That does happen in real life. Sometimes somebody goes from zero to hero in one moment. But that doesn't give your audience a chance to go through it. The best that happens is they say, okay, I'm an average person. Maybe someday I'll save the day. But they don't go out and decide to change their whole life because of that, right? So instead of that, what we're going to do is a series of steps. There's a step, and then another step, and then another step, and then another step. This character is going through a series of steps that ultimately get them there. If you look at Neo starts in the beginning. He's down here. He's being questioned by his boss. He's late for work. He doesn't have a good life going on at all. And suddenly he gets this phone delivered, and the guy on the other end can see what's going on in his office and guides him. Here's our step. He's now for the first time experiencing the change. He's experiencing somebody who can see the matrix. He doesn't know what it is, but there's our first step. Then, as he's being guided through that, he gets to the police department or the detectives, and they're interviewing him. And suddenly they do that thing that closes his mouth. And now he sees another part of the reality. It's like, wait a minute, the life isn't the way he thought it was. And there's a whole series of steps that come out of that. Every single one of them makes some kind of change for him until in the very end, he suddenly, after going through an enormous amount of change, for the first time, he can see the matrix himself. Right? So that's our gradient of change. And we have like three different levels of gradients that we intertwine together. So it's not just, oh, it's just the events that occur. It's not that. There's a lot of internal change that has to happen with that. Now that you have that, and you've got a gradient of change, now let's go up here because there's a series of things that happen along the way in this transformational journey that need to be there. So the first part is you're challenging the old ways. If the old ways aren't challenged, they remain intact. And this isn't small. If somebody needs to change in life, it's great to have a goal. That's part of it, right? You have something you're moving towards, but you also need to somehow shed the things that are inside you that are keeping you from succeeding. So we do that in a movie simply by having the character come up against things he tries to use his old way and it doesn't work. Having them see things that have his old ways make no sense anymore. In the Matrix, just first he gets a phone, bam, it rings. There's Morpheus, and Morpheus is telling him he needs to get down. The agents are at the door. And it's like that makes no sense. In his old ways, that kind of thing never happened. Uh, you know, he gets in. It's like he's being challenged in so many ways. His boss actually asked him, are you the one who shows up for work on time, or are you the one who gets fired? Right? And it's like he's talking about his identity. Who are you? When he gets to the detectives, one of them asked him, I think it was Agent Smith, ask him, are you Mr. Anderson or are you Neo? And this is starting again to question who he is, to question and challenge these old ways. In his old ways, he's hiding out. He doesn't want anybody to know. Uh, and on top of that, he's never seen any of the things that he's about to see. By the way, along the way here, he gets somewhere in here and he's given another opportunity to change. Are you going to take the blue pill or the red pill? But once we get past some of these old ways, we've challenged his reality essentially. Then we go into these profound moments. And let's take a profound moment, and it's one that's right on the border here. It both challenges the old ways and creates a profound moment. He takes the pill, goes in, they hook him up to some things, and he thinks he's about to go on some esoteric, internal mind shift journey. But instead, he suddenly wakes up and gets flushed into first he wakes up in a pod, breaks out of it, finds out he's got these things hooked to the back of his neck and his whole body. That's a pretty big challenge of the old ways. And it's the start of some of the profound moments. Then he gets flushed, they pick him up, and he finds out at that point, as soon as he arrives on the ship, that his whole life has just been a computer construct. And you'll notice at the point that he starts finding that out, he completely freaks out. Then he's told, a new profound moment, that the people on the ship believe he's the one, that Morpheus is convinced he's the one. Then he has another profound moment. He learns Kung Fu inside of 3 or 4 minutes. It took me a decade, but he learned it in 3 or 4 minutes. Astounding. And now he can fight Morpheus at an incredible level. It's astounding the things that he can do, but we're still challenging an old way. He can't do what Morpheus does and jump across the buildings. So all of these profound moments and the challenging the old ways makes this journey much more profound and transformational. Now, a couple of other things. You also need entertainment. And if you take out the entertainment, by the way, it's a documentary. So And even if it's just you telling a story that's not true, it just comes across still as a documentary without the entertainment. The entertainment needs to be there. This is the cool things that go on. This is the journey. This is the uh, the up and down emotional roller coaster that we as an audience go on during your movie that keeps us engaged. Incredibly important. And then one more thing. And this one, I see lots of people try to write profound movies and they're missing this part. They're basically telling us what they already know. Number 10 is insights. You need to have some deep insights, deep breakthroughs that you are going to give your audience. If we go through all of this and it just gives us what we already know, it's like, well, we didn't really go through a journey. We didn't really change. Maybe the character did, but it changed from how it used to be to how we are. That's not it. So you need some insights. You need some insights that you've dug deep for, that you've found profound breakthroughs that you are bringing to the table. Things that people will talk about for years and maybe decades. Things that they will recommend others go see this movie because there's something so deep that they think that person needs. So that's a big part of the job in what you're doing. Uh, if you look again at these movies, every one of them had that. Every one of them had some profound, the entire model, step by step, every single one of them matched that model. Now, our model goes beyond just like what I just gave you was like a really big oversimplification of it, but I just wanted you to be able to see how it works. That was the what. That was what goes into it. Then there's the hows. But I want to ask you a quick question. What stories would you like to tell in a more profound way? And think about this. You may have stories you've already written that you would like to tell in a more profound way. You'd like to provide much more depth. You would like them to have serious impact on other human beings. Or you may have stories that you're thinking of right now or in the future that you would like to be so profound that you're known for them, which brings us to this other question. Would you like to truly be a profound writer? We had a writer in went through this program who she was working with a horror producer. She had been hired to write a horror script. She'd gone through like 5 drafts with the producer and done everything he asked for. She was an excellent writer. She'd done everything he asked for, and he just kept saying it's not enough. He was like, I mean, I like all these ideas. Most of them he'd come up with. He says, I like all of these ideas and I like how you wrote them, but it's just not enough. There's no depth. So she took the profound class, went through it. As she was going through it, she she called me up or she texted me and she said, you know, do you think I could apply this to a horror movie? And at that time, nobody had done it yet. And I said, yeah, give it a try. Uh, so she did. She rewrote the horror movie completely using our profound model. It still was a horror movie. It still had all the things that are known in the horror genre, but she built in some deep, deep, profound depth into that movie and into the main character's journey. Took it back to the producer, and he read it that night and called her up the next morning and said, oh my God, uh, this is incredible what you just did. It is 10 times better than the last draft. He was blown away. He kept saying that she was an amazing writer and she had so much depth. He recommended her to 3 other producers who all hired her over the next 2 years. And it was because of that. So this kind of thing makes a huge difference. Now, stay with me for a minute. Let me walk you through this class. I'll give you a special at the end on it. But this is the upcoming Profound Screenplay class that can change your life as a writer. You can go from being somebody who's a really good writer to somebody who people consider to be deep and incredible, and the kind of writer that when they read, they just go, oh, oh my God, they remember it from now on. That's what you want ultimately. So this class starts with what is profound, which is pretty much what we've done today. What we've done today pretty much is lesson number one. From there, then it's about defining the change and the entertaining story. So now you're looking for these two things, and I'll give you an exact model for how to discover the change you want to make and articulate it powerfully, and then how to make sure it's entertaining. Notice we put this one up front so that you've already have an entertaining vehicle that you are taking this story through. And because of that, you won't have to worry as you're building in more depth, the story will remain entertaining. Day three, then you're going to create the transformational journey that's going to change people's lives. Day four, now you will design your change agent. There are some very specific things that you need there. Most people only get 2 out of the 4. Once you have this, you'll be able to instantly see it. And you're going to design your transformable character or characters. Day 5, now we go to the gradient of change, and you're going to build 3 different gradients together. You're going to intertwine them, which will essentially have every scene contribute to their change in some way. And I'm talking about the audience's change. Day 6, now it's you create the transformational structure for the story. Day 7, you connect with the audience so that they're going to follow you. Day 8, you leave us with a profound ending. So every one of these is going to make a change, but I'm going to get to the big ones in just a second. Day 9, 10, 11, and 12 is the stuff that in the beginning in our development team, we had 2 psychiatrists and a therapist. All of them said, you can't do this. They said, you can't shift belief systems in movies. You can't challenge and cause people to change their beliefs. You can't cause people to have the kind of profound moments they'll remember from now on. They said that's all subjective. And I was like, no, I think there's ways to do it. I've come out of movies before where life had changed for me. Uh, by the end of our development team, every one of them said, this model works. And I'm telling you, this is stuff you've never seen that will shift the way you write. You will be able to cause people to have profound moments, to cause them to remember and experience them over and over. And this is the stuff that will cause audiences to come back and see your movie 10 times. Now, day 13, then it's about making sure that your scenes are entertaining. Day 14, dialogue that guides our life. And you've probably experienced this in some movies. Let's see. Dead Poet Society, Carpe Diem, seize the day, boys, seize the day. I was doing corporate training when that movie came out. Within a month, there were actually programs at corporations on how to seize the day. There were signs. I would go into a company and there'd be signs on the wall that say Carpe Diem. Crazy, but that dialogue stayed with people. Day 15, you'll now bring this together and complete your entire profound model that you will now have an outline that is the best outline you've ever written and is designed completely to cause profound change. With that, the level of depth we're going to build into this, you'll be able to write that script in 15 to 30 days. So it makes a huge difference. Now, a couple other things. Any one of these lessons can elevate your writing, really, truly. Any of these lessons can. They can make a big difference. But you put all of them together and you'll become somebody who can write at a truly profound level. The normal price on this is $297. This is a 1 month long class. I'm going to give a special, and this is for the first 10 people. This this program starts on March 3rd. And so that gives you, about 3 weeks to brainstorm some ideas, look at what movies or scripts you'd like to either write or rewrite using this model. Special price, and again, this is for the first 10. First 10 get in for $129. That will save you what, like $170 on this class. So this is the lowest price we ever offer it at. If what you want to do is to become a truly profound writer, if you want to become somebody that when producers read your writing, they just go, I could never write at that level. That's what that one producer said about the writer I was talking about. He was like, when he recommended her, he said, he says, I don't know what she does, but it's a magic. It is absolutely amazing. And she knew this model and she used it, and she used it well from that point on. So if you would like to have tremendous depth, be able to write at a level that surprises producers, that has people want to read your screenplay over and over, that has people see your movies over and over, come join us. I promise you, you will absolutely love this. And if you don't like it for any reason, by this third day, you just got to get back to us by the third day, we'll give you your money back. We take really good care of writers. If it doesn't work for you, I got it. But I will tell you, we've had people who have won every major contest in this industry, as in we've had winners at Page, we've had 2 winners at Nickel, we've had winners at Final Draft in Austin. Most of them took this program, and it was one of the reasons that readers considered them to be writers who could write with serious depth. So that's all it takes. Just write this link down, bit.ly, bit.ly/profound class. And by the way, on the profound, you need to put a capital P and a capital C. Again, it's bit.ly, bit.ly/profound class, no spaces, just those 2 capitals. So looking forward to seeing you in the class and hearing about the success that you have because of this. With that, this is Hal Crosman with Screenwriting U, wishing you the absolute best. Bye-bye, everyone.